This video is going to be a demo of sorts. I'm going to play the bass, give you my honest thoughts and opinions, and I have not been paid or asked to promote this bass in any way. So a bit of backstory, it's 30th of December 2020. I just found out earlier that month that I got into my #1 university, and my original #1 bass was a Squier 5-string jazz bass that had broken, and I needed a new bass for the course that I was doing at the time, which was a popular music course at Lippers Sixth Form College. I made the decision that the next bass I bought was going to be the bass that followed me through my entire career as a session musician, and fixed my eyes upon the recently released Fender Ultra Series P basses. But I couldn't afford to buy one at full price as they were £2,000 from Anderton's, and I had only just turned 18. That is a lot of money for an 18-year-old. There was, however, a B-Stock Ultra to my look, and it was this absolute gem of a bass. I'm not sure if the camera will do it justice, but the finish is incredible, with the sparkles and gold making for a brilliant reflective surface when the stage lights hit it. So that morning of December 30th, 2020, this arrived on my doorstep. The reason it was B-Stock was because of this little chip in the smaller wing, taking £500 off of the original total. An absolute steal in my eyes, because I like a bass to slowly wear away the finish, almost aging with me, so that little chip was not going to be so lonely in time. This bass very quickly became my #1 for the foreseeable future. I used it to complete my 6th form course and for the first 2 years of my university course, which brings us to today. I have not long bought my first vintage bass, being my new #1, my 1978 jazz bass, which is in an earlier video, and this bass gets neglected more than it probably should, making me question whether or not it is time to move on. Let me start this review section of the video by saying that this bass truly lives up to the name. It really is the Ultra P bass. Not only is it a passive bass, but it also has a passive active switch, which is super handy in the studio, but as of right now, I'm not a big fan of active basses, and I need to do my research on them a little more, as I don't pay them much attention, meaning the batteries to keep the active circuit alive have been removed, making this switch act more like a kill switch than anything else. As you can also see, it has a single coil jazz pickup in the bridge position 2 with a pickup pan control pot to blend the two pickups together rather than using a switch, helping to achieve a plethora of tonal variations. Other features of this bass include the cutaway in the heel of the neck for ease of playing the higher frets. How lightweight this bass is makes me question whether there are actually any electronics below the pick guard, and right now I'm hardly picking this bass up once every 3 or 4 weeks, and it holds tune like you wouldn't believe. All these aspects truly make this bass the ultimate studio monster. Despite all of this though, let me tell you about why I'm not getting along with it as well as you may think. This bass did not affirm me in any way that active basses could be useful. I know I said that I don't like to use the active circuit in it, but part of that was because it's pretty unusable. It takes 2 batteries and the active circuit doesn't last more than a day. I have tried different brands of batteries, and I even took it into a shop to get it serviced. The guy who set it up told me he put brand new batteries in it, but left the switch on active mode overnight, and by the time I came to pick it up and plug it in the next day, the active circuit was already dead. For those that enjoy active basses, you may be spending a lot of money on batteries to keep this bass alive. Whether that's a problem with just this bass or a universal problem amongst Fender Ultras, I do not know. Earlier this year, I did discover the power and allure of vintage basses, buying one for myself and becoming obsessed with owning more. A vintage P bass crossed my mind, and the thought of selling this for one has been pretty tempting. I like the idea of a P bass being a P bass, not an absolute terminator of the studio, as useful as it is. With this extra bridge pickup, there is more pull on the strings from the magnets, and the bass being super light, it is fairly dead when it comes to resonance. In comparison to my jazz bass, which is one of the heaviest basses I've ever held, the notes definitely die off fairly quickly. I don't use this bridge pickup anywhere near enough as well to justify having it, only really blending it in when practicing improvising for clarity in the sound, but now I have my jazz bass, I don't see the point in it. Loads of these Ultras have came off the production line, all identical to the one before it and the one after it, whereas these vintage basses before the 1980s were all pretty unique in their own ways. I like the idea of having a 1 in a million bass rather than a 1 of a million. Of course, this is all just my personal thoughts and they will differ to everybody else's. I craved owning one of these basses when I watched Nate Navarro announce the acquisition of his own Fender Ultra Jazz bass. I hope this was insightful though into the greatness of these instruments and, in my own opinion, the pretty lackluster personality of them. I like a bass to have personality, and not that I want to feel like I'm fighting it when I play, because I struggle to play anything that doesn't make me feel at home, but I like a bass to be more than just a factory line twin. Thank you very much for watching, and do you think this is worth it? Do you think this is worth the £2,000 brand new? I think they sell for about £1,600 second hand, so it's up to you. What do you think? Let me know, and if I decide to sell this on for a vintage, I'm sure I will let you guys know. Thank you very much.